Hey everyone, I'm super excited to share something really cool from my marine biology course on Coursera. It's a very recent one, and it's biofluorescence. You might have heard of bioluminescence, where creatures make or produce their own light, but biofluorescence is a bit different and honestly just as amazing. So let's dive in. So, what is biofluorescence is our first question, I think. Imagine shining a black light on a poster and seeing some parts glow really brightly. That's kind of what biofluorescence is like in the ocean. Some marine organisms can absorb blue light, which penetrates deepest in the water, so in the depths of the oceans, it's what it's like, and then re-emit it as a different color, like green, red, or orange. They're not making or producing the light themselves. In bioluminescence, a light-producing molecule in an organism reacts with an enzyme to produce light, but in biofluorescence, the marine organisms are just really good at recycling the light. Biofluorescent marine organisms have molecules that absorb higher energy wavelengths and then they re-emit it as longer, lower energy wavelengths like green, orange, red, and yellow. So, why do they actually do it? Is our question. I'm sorry. It went on to the wrong slide. So scientists are still figuring out all the reasons, but in the course that I've studied, they have some very strong hypotheses as to why they're actually doing it. The first one is obviously communication. They could be using fluorescent flashes to signal at each other, maybe for finding mates or maybe warning off predators. And the second one is attraction. Just like bioluminescence, fluorescence might help some creatures lure their prey closer. So to find out what fluorescent animals see when they look at each other, researchers have actually developed new methods for studying their visual capability. Why? Because they can use this information to determine which wavelengths an organism can see. If they, when they look at each other, if they see the same biofluorescent light, that means they might be communicating or collaborating on something. So that's really cool. So we have some amazing examples like the sea turtles you see here. There's another sea turtle here actually. So the ocean is full of biofluorescent wonders. There are corals that have very vibrant fluorescent pigments. There are fish, some eels, some jellyfish. So these squishy creatures can also display very beautiful fluorescent glows. So when we actually look at these creatures, just like the sea turtle here, the first thing that I personally wonder is how do we actually see it as humans, because biofluorescence isn't always visible to the naked eye underwater, and because it fundamentally relies on a specific light source, usually blue or UV. So scientists often use special blue lights and filters to absorb and study it. And this is actually a picture that I've taken from my course. And to explain this image, for example, to image fluorescence underwater, scientists use high energy blue lights to simulate lighting conditions in ocean water, because as I've said, it's what it's like in the ocean where fluorescent marine organisms live. And this causes the organisms to fluorescence, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. And then we actually use light filters to block blue light from the camera lens so that when we actually look at what's captured, we can clearly see the lower energy fluorescent light emitted by the organism itself. So the next question is, why should we care? Because I feel like a lot of young adults think of this first when they see something. Why should we care about it? The first one is obvious. It's about marine biodiversity and it's about ecosystem dynamics. This can help us discover new and fascinating species, and we can also understand how organisms interact using fluorescence, which can shed light on the complex relationships in the ocean, I think. And the second one, I think, is a lot more important than the others. The fluorescent proteins found in these creatures are even being used in medical research, like fluorescent markers or cells glowing under a microscope. I feel like nature should be the fundamental source that we are using to be inspired when we are developing medical approaches. So I feel like you should always look at nature to actually develop new solutions, because there's actually fundamental, complex, and very wonderful things in the ocean and the nature, and you should be inspired from it. So I feel like that's very, very important. So to conclude, biofluorescence is a truly fascinating phenomenon that highlights the incredible diversity of the life in oceans. And I feel like I've talked about this a lot throughout the video. So keep exploring, keep learning, and maybe one day you'll get to witness this glowing world firsthand. I personally really want to witness some of the biofluorescent marine organisms. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something today. Bye!